I'm glad that you have joined me on my little end of a crazy little period here with a lot of travel. I hope you got to see yesterday's program because what we decided to do when I wasn't here was to show part of an episode or a course or a lesson or however you want to call these things that we do on boundaries.me. So if you didn't see yesterday's program, then go take a look at that and you'll get a kind of a look see. When we talk about boundaries.me, it is a platform that has over 80 different courses on different topics. And that's kind of what it looks like. So go take a look at that. In the meantime, are you taking a look at your life? I was in a meeting actually earlier today where it was so cool to see the kind of person that really, really, really wants to examine their own life. It was two different people. I was in some consulting meetings, and every now and then, you get to see what one of my favorite gazillions of verses, the book of Proverbs talks about, is that really wise people look at themselves and they take correction and they take feedback and they take instruction. And what it says is they always get better by doing that. And so I hope you're looking at your life. I hope you have some way. I've been sharing some of my health struggles with you guys in the last few months. I just had spine surgery and still kind of working through some parts of that are not completed. And today, after I talk to you, I get to go in for another MRI. And the doctor was saying it's going to really help me to get a second and a different kind of look that'll help me know kind of some different things to do that are going to help make it better. Well, that's the way our psyches ought to be, right? We ought to always be kind of getting the feedback and looking, where's the pinched nerve here? Where's the issue where I could do better in life, but to do that, I got to take the x-rays and I got to take the MRIs. So anyway, I hope you're getting a chance to do that. Quick announcement. We have coming up on June 14th, you can sign up for it now. I'm going to be doing one of my, it may be my favorite topic. We're doing a 2-hour webinar, and it's about how faith and spiritual growth, all of that interacts with our getting well and emotional issues. And what do faith and mental health have to do with each other, and anxiety and depression and your spiritual life and growing in relationships? What's the faith role in that? Because I'm a clinical psychologist and I treat people with very, very, they're called evidence-based, clinical methods and treatments. But I'm also a person of faith, and my life has been about integrating those two. And when I integrate them, what I find is, the faith piece is kind of like informing all of it. And there's such a big role that your faith and spiritual growth and all that has in getting well. So I'm going to do a 2-hour webinar on that on July 14th. And what is the I always know our topics. I don't know the exact wording of the title. I've got it here. It's going to be called Restoring Our Brokenness, Joining Faith and Mental Health. That's what we're calling it. And to get to that, you go to boundaries.me/restore. Boundaries.me, that's the website, /restore. And you can sign up July 14th. And if you can't be there live, sign up for the live event, then you can stream it afterwards. So get in there and get the early registration for that. All right. So we're going to hop into the thought for the day. And I always share something that I've run across in a consulting situation or reading about or my own life or something like that. And today's topic that I was reminded of in a few situations this week was what happens when people have a conflict or people have some kind of a hurt by someone, or they have a disappointment with someone, or some kind of something's going on with somebody. And so person A is bugging person B or hurt person B in some way, or person B is disappointed with person A. And person B goes and talks to person C. Well, person C is not part of the problem. And from where they sit over there in their chair, way over there, here's the real playing field. They're not really part of fixing the problem. So they're not part of the problem. And at least first glance, they're not part of fixing the problem. But generally, what happens in these situations, because a lot of times person C has a relationship with person A. And now that has caused B and C to kind of get together. And now you got to divide with person A. And in some situations, people are forced to choose sides. And that's divisive. So all of psychology, that you talk about faith and psychology coming together. Boy, this is what places they really do, because all of the family systems literature that you ever study, and business resolution, leadership, all of that stuff. The term that's used is triangulation. And triangulation is never really a recommendation or a positive thing. It's always talked about as a problem. Because if person B's got a problem with person A, the person they ought to be talking to is person A, unless there's some good reason for that. Now, person A is a burglar and they're coming to my house, I'm going to call person C, right? Burglar's A, I'm B. Who you going to call? I'm going to call Ghostbusters. I'm not going to talk to the burglar. Y'all too young. You didn't see that movie. Remember that? There's something in your something bad in your neighborhood. Who you going to call? Ghostbusters. Well, burglar comes in your house. Who you going to call? You got to call the police. If you're in danger, going directly and confronting the person, it confronts a bad word in some ways. Talk to the person, okay? If talking to the person directly puts you in danger, then obviously that's not the best idea. Then you would go talk to person C, but what kind of person C? Person C that's going to join you and just decide person A is a bad person? No, person C you want to talk to is somebody that can help you, hopefully, resolve the problem with person A. So here's one of my favorite verses. It's in Matthew, and go look this up. This is a great, great passage. Matthew chapter 18, starting in about verse 15. You'll never read a better psychology text on avoiding triangulation than this one. Here's what it says. It says, if your brother or sister, whoever, if they sin against you, okay? If somebody does something that you don't like, or they hurt you, or this, that, and the other, then it says, go to them, person B, the one that's been hurt by person A, go to them in private, it says, in private. Now, that's a big deal. Wouldn't you want to be treated that way? If you did something that somebody didn't like or hurt their feelings or something, wouldn't you want, now look at the beauty of this for a family or for community. Instead of spreading the poison of that throughout the family or the circle of friends called gossip, instead of doing that, it says in private. Why in private? So nobody else that's unrelated to this problem has to hear about it. Because you don't want to be changing somebody's opinion or relationship with a person. It's not part of that relationship with the person. If person C is going to get changed in their relationship with person A, that needs to be between them, not me. So if person A hurts me, I need to go talk to person A in private. So here's what it says. You go talk to him and say, you know what, the other day when you kind of snapped at me, that didn't feel good. That doesn't make me get closer to you or whatever. That hurts. Then it says, if you talk to them about it, and it says, and they listen, then you've won them over. End of problem. Then let's go back to the party. And everybody sees us walk in. They don't even know we had a problem. We're friends. Problem solved. Boy, that's a lot better than person A hurting person B and person B not talking to him and going and talking to person C or starting a campaign against person A. It's divisive. It's not good. It doesn't fix anything. It also makes person B more of a victim because it renders them powerless as opposed to empowering them to go resolve the conflict. Unless it's dangerous. Remember, I said that. So here's what's interesting about that passage. It says, person A hurts person B goes and talks to person A, and person A doesn't listen. It doesn't say, oh, then just try to be nice and keep putting up with it, nag them or enable them or get hurt again. Or no. It doesn't say that. It says if they don't listen, then get a couple of other people, and in my thinking, other people that have experienced the same thing or witnessed the same thing or can help you in some way. It says get a couple of other people and go talk to person A. Because person A, if they're not listening, they're a little defensive or something, they're probably going to be more apt to hear, look, if I got a conflict with one of my friends and I'm defensive and I don't really, no, I didn't do that. I'm not like that. And then they go get two or three of my other friends and they all come in here and say, Henry, we've all seen you be this way. We've seen it. We're worried about you. We don't want you to be that way. Well, three of them are sitting there. I had a pastor one time said, if one person calls you a horse, tell me crazy. But if five people do, go buy a saddle. Because two or three people tell us this. All people are saying the same thing. I'm the common denominator right there, right? So then hopefully I'm listening. Well, then it says, but if they don't listen, then tell it to the larger group. It's kind of when you get to the intervention stages. Everybody in the family's talked to this person about their drinking or whatever it is. Then you get to an intervention. It says, tell it to the whole church. It's like danger, warning. And then it says, if they don't listen to the group, the whole family comes in or group, and they do a group intervention. This person doesn't listen. Then it says, basically, I'll paraphrase it, but you separate from them. It says treat them as, you would like an unbeliever, somebody not in the family, right? We go to a whole different scenario. So, excuse me. So the point being, there's a progression here. And it avoids bringing people that are not part of the conflict. It avoids bringing them into the conflict and thereby further stirring up the gossip and the poison. That's not good. So anyway, I got another point or two about that. Before I do, I don't even know if I gave out the number today. Call me at 844-940-2774. There, I didn't give the number out, so I'm sure there's got to be a line or two open. Today might be your day to get in. Call in 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774. Anyway, now what's really cool, I think, about that progression, how many families do you know that if they had followed that, they'd be in a whole different place? But here's what happens in families. Person A and person B have a conflict. Instead of person B calling up person A and said, you know what, I don't like what happened at Thanksgiving dinner. I don't, this This isn't blah, 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 blah. Well, instead of that, person B goes and calls one of the siblings or calls one of the parents, and then they call the other sibling. You got the whole family talking about this one over here. Well, this one over here is still in denial and lost and doesn't know what they're doing. And the body, the immune system, it'd be like, look, God designed us, we're bodies of people that form a body, right? We're cells, individual cells in a body of people. Well, in my body, if I got an infected finger, you want the whole body doing what? Going to the finger to help, sending out the T cells in the immune system, naming the problem, putting a marker cell on the infection, calling the inflammation to come around and protect it, sending new oxygenated blood down there, pulling out the pus. And the whole body is going to the problem, not avoiding the problem and letting the infection then infect the rest of the body. So that is what we're talking about. All right. Here's the number, 844-940-2774. 844-940-2774 is the number. And we're going to go to the phones now. And our first caller is Brenda, who listens on Facebook. By the way, you can get the show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I think on Twitter, and you can make comments and join the party there. And that's a cool thing. Brenda, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I'd be with you this evening.
I couldn't hear you. You're going out on me. Say it again.
Oh, no. Is this better?
Might be. Are you on a better? Bluetooth or are you on a headset or something?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay. Speakerphone maybe? No?
No.
Okay.
Let's see if it works. Try a different spot in the house and see if that works, okay?
Okay. So tell me what's up. How can I help you?
How about this? This might be better here. So what I hope you can help me understand is how psychology helps with the neuroplasticity and how psychology therapy can help with the neuroplasticity of the brain to affect change from, say, autism or hemiplegia. Because living in a destructive marriage, I have gained greater awareness that the autism impacts the house, the relationship. And when that was brought to light, it's like, yeah, that really makes sense as I was learning more. So neuroplasticity.
Who has autism?
I suspect that my husband of nearly 40 years does.
Oh, you suspect, but it's never been diagnosed, or is there any treatment or anything like this?
No, the whole idea of that is a new awareness. So I'm just taking baby steps to figure out, okay, which direction do we go? I did a little online evaluation, in my opinion, to see, and it's like, yeah, there's enough indicators there. And so he said back in his youth, if there'd have been special ed, he'd have been in special ed. And he did go to speech therapy. And then I don't know if it's consequently, we also have a child who has hemiplegia, and he comments how he can relate well to her cognitive deficiencies. And when she was in junior high, we did have her tested for autism.
All right, what kind of struggles are you having with your husband?
Narcissistic type tendencies, gaslighting, the focus of
narcissistic and self-centeredness, gaslighting, all of that tends to not be a neurological problem. That tends to be kind of a personality disorder problem. And really what we're talking about there is patterns of behavior. And so but as you're talking to him, it sounds like, I mean, you were describing a dialogue with him where it sounds like he's kind of taking input and feedback and owning some things about himself and talking to you. Does he do that frequently?
That is very, very, very new. He's been intentional with goals at the beginning of the year. And it's miraculous. And I've worked on changing my dances, they say, and he's responding as well. But like for decades he can give you so many facts about sports and history.
Okay, well, before we go there, what caused the change? You know, decades have gone by, but what caused it? We're going in a good direction here. I like this. Right? He's got some goals. He's working on it. You changed some of the ways that you relate to him. You changed the dance, as you said, which is a great thing. So what caused this? How did you guys get down this different path?
We are just getting started, and I think a huge part of it has to do with some of your books. If you go to his Nook, you'll find yourself there, as well as Dr. Townsend, Learning to Love. So that has impacted him a lot.
Wow, that's really cool.
Setting boundaries, like we just had a situation, and I was so very proud of him that he engaged me in the decision making, and we were able to sit and speak rationally to say, you know what? No, we're not going to go do that, because that's an unhealthy relationship, and we're not playing pretend just to put on a facade of peace when that's not what the relationship is.
That's great. Let me just comment on a few things you said, and then I'm going to try to get to your comment on neuroplasticity, because it's a new term, not a new term. I mean, it's been around, but it's getting into the popular language over the last, handful of years. But whatever is driving his changes. Now, one of the things that's really cool that you've said is that, and I wish we had time to hear all the ways that you've changed the dance, so to speak. So what I tell people a lot is that it only takes one person to change a relationship. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can fix it or that it gets fixed, but we definitely change a relationship in some way when anybody does anything. For example, sometimes some people quit enabling behavior. It's going to change the relationship, and we don't know where it's going from there, but it's going to change it. So kudos to you for working on whatever you worked on. But I also hear something really cool that, you said he used to gaslight and all this kind of stuff, and he's looking at himself and he's learning. And you guys are becoming partners in that. And so I'm just going to, way to go, caller of the day. You are the first caller, so it wasn't hard to get, but you would get it anyway. But here's what I would do. I would say, get while the getting's good, right? He's in this process of growth. I would really be excited about that and value that and all that. And then the next thing I would do is I would try to get him into some sort of something a little structured, like a good couples group where you're going through a book together and everybody's kind of looking at, gosh, I could do this differently, or learning these skills, or get him to a good counselor or some sort of structured process, because this is a man that is about to reverse decades, it sounds like, of behavior that needed to be reversed. So I'd want to pour some more gas on that fire. And I'd do it by structure. So, and then I'll say one more thing, and then I got to talk to some other people. So here's the question about the neuroplasticity. What that basically means is a lot of people for a long time, which is interesting to me, a lot of people would think, well, you can't, in fact, there's all sorts of things like this. Well, a leopard doesn't change the spots. You can't change, you know, tiger to a leopard. I don't even care. Whatever. People don't change. Have you ever heard that? That is the biggest crock of what it ever came up. Ever. Ever. It's just not true that people don't change. People change all the time. Now, the question is, when people change, what makes them change, and how can we further augment that change process, A, or B, even start it, light the fire for it to happen in the beginning. So that's what the whole process of growth is about. And that's what my whole life is, all of my work is about change. But people used to think, well, people don't change. Your personality is fixed in the first 6 years. And, after all that, well, here's one thing. Personality tends to be pretty stable, but that doesn't mean it's unchangeable. See, what fixed means is there's a structure, right? This house, I live in a house that's right about 100 years old. Now, this house in 100 years, it hasn't changed into a helicopter. Okay? It hasn't changed. And it wouldn't change unless in that 100 years, there's been 2 or 3 remodels. The house is fixed. It ain't changing until you come in and change it. So something can be fixed and changeable. This is why I scream when I hear people say, well, you hear people go, well, so-and-so's borderline personality, they don't change, or narcissistic personalities and they don't change. That's just not true. We see them change. We've been treating them for decades. Now, is it more difficult sometimes? Yes. Is sometimes very difficult, sometimes even to get them in the process? Yes. Sometimes will they not come to the process? Yes. Okay. God has that problem. There's some people he can't get to come to therapy. He can't get to come to see him. He can't get them to talk to him. Could he change them? Absolutely. But not if they don't come to the session. Right? So something being fixed doesn't mean it can't change. So your question, and I really appreciate this, Brendan, I'm glad you raised this. The technical term for this change that we've been seeing happen for literally millennia, people do grow and change. This change we've been seeing, that's also character and behavior has a neurological basis to it. Now, when you have a computer that's got a motherboard, there's circuitry that runs. If I'm going to get a machine to do something, I've got to have some wiring and some circuits to carry those commands. You're going to talk to somebody on a phone, there's got to be somewhere some sort of circuitry or wiring that's going to convert all that into some sort of actual, end up in an action, an icon popping up, a program running or something. Behavior is like that. There is no behavior that doesn't have circuitry that drives it. So neuroplasticity, as Brenda has asked, is all of our behavior has wiring to it. You've heard the phrase, for example, well, he's not wired that way or she's not wired that way. They are exactly right. That's exactly right. But that doesn't mean that we can't add a line to the house. Remember in the old days before wireless and phone company, we need a second line. What do? They come add a new line. That's neuroplasticity. That when you begin to use a new pattern, even a behavior before it comes a pattern, or behavior before it comes a habit or whatever, and you're reinforcing it and you're doing a bunch of stuff that makes it happen, and I'm going to give you that formula in a second, you are actually laying down new neurological circuitry or wiring. And that's one of the ways we talk about neuroplasticity, meaning it's plastic. It It's not fixed. It can be shaped. It can be molded. I tell you, I live in a 100-year-old house. If you went down in our basement, you would see wires going everywhere, phone wires. I remember when we moved in here, I called the phone company, and this is before everything was wireless. I said, we needed a couple of lines hooked up. And I said, well, which one is it? He said, oh, we're not going to use any of those. I'm going to just bring a new one in here. I said, you don't have to use the existing line? He goes, no. You just ignore them. Well, here's what we know about the brain. All these old patterns, this is why we try to tell you to ignore the old and focus on the new behaviors, because when we're doing new patterns, they get stronger and the wiring grows, and then the others eventually don't get reinforced and they go to sleep. So that's what your husband sounds like he's doing, Brenda. He's putting down some new wiring, and I would do everything possible to try to get that to get stronger. Okay, let's go back to the phones. And by the way, some of you are worriers. I just thought about this. Some of you are worriers. You kind of get obsessional. I don't know why I'm thinking about this so strongly. We got some warriors. I want to hear from you. We got some warriors who are out there today. And you obsess and you think about something over and over and over. And let's just say, let's pretend, I don't know, anxiety about ruminating about finances or past behavior, or getting on a plane or whatever it is. You got that kind of obsessive worry thing. Here's the thing. That's a habit that got built to handle anxiety, okay? When you have obsessional anxiety and sort of OCD-ish behavior, every time you do that, that's reinforcing those neurological patterns. And that's why we say when that temptation comes up to worry, it's not, you can't make the pressure go away initially. That feeling of, oh no, what if? That pressure might wake up, but when you ignore it and you immediately do a different behavior, start to distract yourself, talk about something else, to quote verses in your head, or, engage in whatever you're doing, and you're ignoring that worrisome thought that's hanging there. What happens is gradually, if you're not reinforcing it, it goes to sleep. And these new patterns begin to grow. That's one of the ways that we treat, OCD, and it's very, very successful. So anytime we don't do an old pattern that's hurtful to us, but instead we do a new pattern, and you must replace the old with the new. Everything we know about, changing habits, you don't just stop a bad habit, you replace it with a new habit. If you want to quit smoking, for example, every time you get the temptation to smoke, then go sit in the jacuzzi instead, or go take a walk or something. You got to replace that. And that's the way neuroplasticity happens as well. Okay, so let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Jackie, who also watches on Facebook, and see what's happening with her. Jackie, welcome to the program.
Oh, Dr. Cloud, can you hear me okay?
I can. Jackie, are you a worrier?
Oh, great. I can be. But when you were just describing how to kind of reroute, think about something else, I've been working really hard at that. I grew up Catholic, and sometimes it's just saying the rosary is just really therapeutic, just to start, working through that. And so, and other things I do too. But yes, I easily am a mom. It's easy to worry. But Mike, do you want to know my question, or should we keep talking about that, or?
I'm really worried about your question. So tell me your question.
Okay. So, my husband
Jackie,
and I have been married for 30 years. Yep.
I was joking with you, but I do want to hear your question.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it that way. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of nervous, so it's hard to.
No
it's hard
problem.
to think clearly.
All right. So what's going on?
And by the way,
your husband.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
We've been married for 30 years. We have a great marriage, and something that has really brought us closer in the last maybe 10 years is just finally this realization of the impact of his family on me and on our children. And really from the very beginning, they haven't liked me. Our wedding day was a sad day for them.
Oh.
And so through the years, as our family unit has gotten stronger, and we've been able to attend most things, but not just the guilt, the manipulation, the shame, and then the triangulation of his three sisters and how they would. Well, right now they're all stonewalling me. None of them are talking to me. So
Jackie, what is their problem? What do they say you did to them?
We did go to counseling with his parents.
But why? What's the problem?
Well,
what's the problem?
Just the unkind things that they say to me, or that they've said to my children, or their words.
What is their beef? Why are they? What are they unkind about? If I go to them and say, "What's Jackie ever done to you?" What do they say?
Well, I was the first one to marry into their family, and I changed their family.
Well, that's not a sin.
I broke up their family.
No, their son. Their son grew up. Their son grew up and got married. You didn't break up their family,
right? I understand that now. For years, I felt really guilty and shamed and tried to please them more and more.
Hold on a second. I know you do. I'm trying to understand. What would they say? What are their words?
What would they say about me?
Yeah, what are their words to you that are unkind
They're very subtle. They don't say them to my face. But it's more behind the scenes and talking with the three sisters.
Okay. And what are the words that they say? What's the complaint?
Well, if it's more like when I show up at their house, I'll just get a cold shoulder, or
so they won't tell you why they don't like you.
They recently had a conversation with one of the sisters, and they said, for 30 years, you have tried to change our family. What I can't change their family, but my family has grown, and we've had to adapt to the amount of time that we spend with them. That the other three, it's the whole, what you said, the leave and cleave thing. That just hasn't happened.
So here's a family that had a very kind of particular, they got used to being a family the way they were. And then their son does this incredibly horrible thing. He grows up and he leaves and cleaves, which is how God designed him. And so when a son grows up and leaves, it changes the family. Right? And they're bugged about that. They're bugged about that. Okay, so what is your sometimes people get mad that the sun comes up. So what is your how can I help? Tell me this sounds like not fun.
Okay, so here's the predicament I'm in right now. So we've recently moved back into the area with some of the family lives. And so before we could have physical boundaries we lived far away, right? It's easy to stay away. Now we live close by. And then we realize we still have to have those physical boundaries. And so when the whole family's together, we tend not to join in. But last week, he wanted to see his parents. His parents are in their mid-80s. It's well, let's have lunch with them. We try to honor them, but not join into the dysfunction of when everyone gets together. And so, but we have a wedding coming up, and I don't want to go. And it's a cousin, but this cousin
wedding? Whose wedding?
It's one of my husband's cousins, and his mom was my mother-in-law's sister. He recently just lost both parents this last year. He has no siblings, and we want to go. We want to support him. Yeah. But the thought of being with his sisters and family almost takes my breath away. And I don't know what I need to do to change to be able to go and just do it. I don't know if I should not. I've kind of hid behind, I'm just not going. And this time I can't hide behind that. I feel like it's the right thing to go.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay, so look here's a shift that might be helpful to you inside.
Okay.
If you say, you know what? I've decided my love for this kid and all he's gone through and his struggles, my love for him and wanting to support him is much more valuable and healthier and life-giving than their toxicity towards me. So I'm gonna ignore them, and I'm gonna go love and support this kid. And I'm gonna be on a good mission. And I think when you embrace that, then it's like the scripture says, don't be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. Right. And so I would totally just unplug psychologically. It'd be like blah, 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 whatever they're saying, that's just noise. It'd be like if there's somebody, you're in a wedding in this yard and there's a blower in the yard next door, you stay at the wedding and you just ignore the noise. I would just ignore it. I would stay close to your husband, lock arms with him and say, hey, every 10 seconds, give me a squeeze and I'll take that as a signal that one day we'll be out of here, and go love your cousin. I think that's great. Don't give them that much power.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes so much wisdom. Yeah.
Look, the other thing is if you sometimes people say, well, I'm not going to go where. Well, okay, if you're going to have PTSD and have flashbacks and send you into a major depression, fine. I understand that. Okay. I don't want people getting triggered into some deep, dark hole. But if you can not engage and you can ignore them, here's what you've done. You've taken away their power to control your life. See, right now, or hypothetically, if getting worried about what they think has so much power, then they can guide you through the rest of your life. I just decided to have this opinion or show up. What you want to do is take that power back from them. Who gives a crap about their gossip is kind of the sort of the mindset you got to get to. Okay, that's what I would try to do.
Yeah, that's the mindset.
That's the mindset.
That's very helpful.
And stay close to your husband.
Thank you.
Got to get to some other callers.
Yeah.
And I really
Thank you.
Appreciate your call.
So grateful for you. Thank you for all your COVID shows. Thank you so much.
They were fun. Thanks for joining in. This is COVID show episode number, I don't know what episode this is. As she mentioned, some of you may not know, we started this not too long after lockdown and said, there's no live events anywhere. I'm stuck in my house for God knows how long. God, what are we going to do? And I feel like he told me, well, why don't you start an internet call-in program? Literally, I do think this came from prayer. And I said, all right, well, let's try this. And I asked my team, they said, sure, we can do this. And I just got the message. We are on episode 222 today. So that is really, really fun. Let's see where we are. How's our time looking here? We probably have, you know what? I need to get that screen working down there. We probably have time for another call. Let's go to Angie, who's calling us from Texas. She listens or watches on Instagram. Angie, welcome to the program.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Except I'm trying to make this short. Because the only reason I'm saying this, I shared it earlier in the program. I'm recovering. I something's wrong with my spine, and I got nerve pain, and I can't walk. But other than that, I'm really happy and like life, and everything's good. So I didn't want to lie to you, but that's how I'm doing. How are you? How are you doing?
Thank you for sharing that. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing better than I was, a few days ago. Right. Just a while ago when yes, I am. I have a little bit of anxiety right now, but I'm okay.
Okay.
So I guess the reason I'm calling you is because you mentioned something just a while ago, and you said that you just thought about the worriers, and I guess worriers came to your mind, and then you also mentioned something about like how this kind of falls into like an obsessive compulsive type of anxiety. I think I heard you say that, and I was like, whoa, like that is me right there.
I knew I was talking to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I battle. I believe that I have been going through a process of healing for years now. But I hit a wall. The wall has to do with the worrying that turns very obsessive, and I definitely become consumed with anxiety to the point where my mind, I cannot even think clearly.
Okay. So how long have you had this? Did it have a particular beginning?
I noticed it started occurring more frequently, and got to that point where like I get really shaken up. That I can remember, I would say, I don't know, about a year.
So you never worried like this before a year ago?
Oh no, the worrying was definitely there, but I don't think it ever got to the point where it got me shaken, like where I actually feel like shaken up, and it takes me a few days to recover.
Did anything happen? Any big thing happen in the last year or two? You have any big losses or any kind of trauma?
There's definitely past trauma, and I think I wonder. So I noticed that I get like this when there is some type of conflict that I need to address. Where
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Something you need to address.
Yeah. So like, I'll give you I started dating someone, and I would get really, really anxious. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I think it has to do with the fact that I haven't.
When did you start dating someone? Is that like a year ago?
Yes, I started dating that person a year ago. I'm not dating them anymore, but I was dating them. I started dating them about a year ago.
What I was asking about was, you said that this started happening in a different way, is more severe what happened a year ago. And I said, did anything occur around then? And I said, any losses or any big events? Which you said, yes, you started dating somebody. Now, here's the thing about.
I believe it was triggered.
Yeah. So here's the thing about what we call obsessional worrying. Rumination is another term, overthinking, can't let it go, can't get that thought out of my head. Did I leave the doors locked? Oh, I forgot to check. Where's my, did I leave the stove on? Worrying about, you go away and you said something to somebody. Oh, did they take it that wrong way? And you obsess about it all night. Or all of that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, a lot of times what that is it's a symptom of sometimes it's a symptom of an actual anxiety disorder. And what that means is that, and here's the short version, because we're up against the clock and I got to go fast, is that for whatever reason, there's a lot of different reasons for this. They could be biochemical. They could be, there's a lot of different reasons. It could be past trauma. It could be hurt that's trying to be expressed. It could be memories getting triggered, a lot of different stuff. But for whatever reason, the fear centers in the brain get activated. Okay. So your that fear center where the amygdala and all that stuff lives, it starts going beep, 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 beep. And it's secreting all of these stress hormones and adrenaline and all this stuff. And all of a sudden your body, you feel this kind of, this feeling of like worry or dread or something's going to happen. Well, your body's been activated. So then what happens is, because you're feeling that at the biochemical level, your body has got to make sense of that. Your brain's got to make sense of that. So it finds something to obsess about and worry about, because if I can worry about that, that gives me a sense of control over it. And I can think my way through it. And well, that's not going to happen. But then I resolve it. And as soon as I resolve it, it comes right back, because the anxiety hasn't been cured. And so what we have to do in order to treat that is you've got to begin to help somebody understand, look, that initial boom, that initial activation, that's not something that you can control. That's involuntary. It's coming from somewhere, either past trauma needs to be addressed or some kind of trigger. But what you can control and learn to control is when that activation happens, you don't have to join it. You can ignore it and get engaged back in doing something else. And that keeps that muscle inside from getting reinforced. Let me give you an example of this. Sometimes what will happen, and then unfortunately I got to go because we're up against the clock, but I'll give you a quick example. Somebody develops they're anxious about something or whatever, and they get anxiety and they're thinking about, get on an airplane. And they go, oh, well, I must be anxious because the airplane's going to, oh, what if the airplane crashes? Oh no, what if? And so what they do is, then they don't get on the airplane, and guess what happens? Their anxiety goes down. So what you've just told the brain is, oh, well, that's why I'm afraid, because flying is dangerous. Well, no, it's not. You just made your brain believe that because you avoided the flight, and that helped the anxiety. So now you've taught your brain that stepping on a crack will break my mother's back, or getting on the plane is a dangerous thing, or whatever. So what we have to do is we have to get people that initial activation to ignore that and then continue in life. And then what happens is you begin to do it over and over and over. And then your brain learns that, oh, the plane didn't crash. And then it learns this, giving off this signal of danger is a false signal. Now, you can't talk yourself into that. You can't control that initial burst. But what we can do is we can control the reinforcing it by either going to it and doing the worry. We can we can, what am I trying to say? We can reinforce the new behavior by not worrying, and stop reinforcing the worry by using that muscle. Worry is a muscle that if you don't use it, it will begin to atrophy. But the only way to do that is to engage in a different one. Okay. And Angie, got to run. We're on a time thing here, but I have an entire workshop on this that I'm going to gift to you. And if any of the rest of you have anxiety problems, go to boundaries.me/anxiety and you can buy that workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop with a big outline that gives you all the ways to handle anxiety and get over it. It's a very popular one on our site. So go take a look at that, and thank you for your call. I go way more in depth on that in that workshop. Boundaries.me/anxiety. You can also go to boundaries.me and check it out and become a subscriber. And you have access to about 90 courses on there now. We're adding them. We just added, I just filmed 2 new ones, 3 new ones, actually. We add them all the time. Go to boundaries.me, check that out. And also, I am so excited because July 14th, we have one of my favorite topics we're doing a workshop on right here, 2 hours live, July 14th, you and me doing a webinar on the coming together of emotional problems and your faith. What do faith and spiritual growth have to do with resolving our emotional issues, resolving our brokenness, resolving, the whole mental health crisis? What does faith have to do with that? Isn't it related? Shouldn't it do something? Well, of course it should, and it does. And I'm going to be talking about how faith development can restore our emotional well-being. The name of the workshop is Restoring Our Brokenness, joining faith and mental health. And that's coming up July 14th. Go to boundary.me/restore in order to sign up. Okay, sign up. If you can't be there live, you can stream it after, but you got to sign up. Go to boundaries.me/restore. Okay, guys, good to be with you. And wish we could stay longer. I have got to go climb in an MRI tube. You ever been in the tube? If you got claustrophobia, that's got to be a tough one. Fortunately, I don't have that. But anyway, I got to go do that, so I got to run. But it's been great to be with you, and I will see you